Imagine that feeling,
Mm.
just perpetually drained, or like you're always walking on eggshells,
Mm.
constantly questioning your own reality, maybe. And it's all because of someone else's behavior.
Right. It's a really common experience, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think we've all encountered people like that. The ones who just seem to possess this uncanny ability to suck the joy right out of a room.
Absolutely. They leave you feeling anxious or resentful or just completely wiped out.
Utterly exhausted. And you know that gut feeling, right? That little whisper inside that says something is just off.
Even if you can't quite put your finger on why.
Exactly. It's this pervasive, kind of insidious feeling that can creep into any relationship, really. Friend, family member, colleague.
Even a romantic partner.
It's that constant low hum of unease, maybe. Or that feeling you have to constantly manage their reactions.
Preemptively, yeah. Trying to guess what might set them off.
Or that feeling that no matter what you do, it's just never quite right for them. It's such a heavy burden to carry, like a silent thief of your peace.
It truly is.
So this deep dive, what we want to do is really understand those draining interactions, but more importantly, empower you to reclaim your peace, your energy, your sense of self.
Yeah. Giving you the tools.
We're going to unpack what it truly means for a person or maybe a whole relationship to be toxic. We'll identify the signs, some subtle, some not so subtle.
Definitely some not so subtle one.
And crucially, we want to equip you with practical, powerful strategies. We're talking about setting boundaries.
Which is so key.
And these aren't just like theoretical ideas we're pulling out of thin air. These are actionable steps from our sources designed to protect your mental and emotional well-being.
The goal really is to lead you towards less stress, less anxiety in your life.
Right. Our mission here is to help transform that draining feeling into a tangible sense of calm and maybe control.
And what's truly eye-opening, I think, from the research we looked at is how often these really damaging dynamics aren't obvious right away.
No, they definitely don't come with a warning label.
No flashing neon sign, right? Instead, they can build up over time, slowly eroding your sense of self, chipping away at your inner peace.
Until you suddenly realize you're just a shadow of who you used to be.
Exactly. And this deep dive, it pulls from a really comprehensive stack of sources. We've got insights from leading mental health experts, practical guidance on effective boundary setting.
Yeah, the how-to.
Right. And also robust research into the profound psychological impacts of these relationships. We'll explore just how pervasive these issues can be.
And maybe, more importantly, why is it so hard? Why, even when you know a relationship isn't good for you, it can be incredibly difficult to change the dynamic or even just step away?
That's a huge question. We're here to provide you with a comprehensive understanding, not just what a toxic relationship is, but why it hits us so hard.
And most critically, how we can effectively respond and, reclaim our lives. Hashtag body.
Okay, so let's unpack this concept first.
Yeah.
A toxic person. It's so much more than just someone being difficult.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just having a bad day or disagreeing with you. When we talk about toxicity, whether it's in a person or a relationship, we're really talking about a consistent pattern. A pattern of behavior that actively harms or undermines or diminishes other people.
Think of it less like a one-off argument and more like this pervasive, unhealthy atmosphere they consistently create.
Yeah, an atmosphere that just makes interactions emotionally exhausting. It leaves you feeling totally depleted.
It's like a slow leak.
Yeah.
Your emotional energy,
Yeah.
your vitality, your self-esteem, they're constantly just seeping away.
Maybe without you even realizing it at first. Until one day you just feel empty.
And what's really crucial to grasp here is the paradox. Relationships fundamentally are meant to be nourishing.
Yeah, they should provide support, growth, connection.
But in these toxic dynamics, they become these consistent sources of profound distress instead.
So a toxic relationship isn't just like unpleasant.
No, it's way beyond unpleasant. It's characterized by behaviors that are emotionally damaging and sometimes even physically damaging. And this often creates a really unbalanced power dynamic, deeply unbalanced, where one person is constantly seeking to undermine or control or devalue the other one. Now, it's important to note this isn't always like conscious intentional malice from the toxic person. Sometimes they're just operating from their own unresolved stuff.
Right, their own wounds maybe.
Exactly. But regardless of their intent, the impact remains the same.
That's a critical distinction, intent versus impact.
Yes. The impact is a relationship that puts one person at a significant disadvantage. It leaves them mentally, emotionally, and often physically drained.
Yeah.
The core issue is that relentless, consistent pattern of behavior. It just chips away at your well-being day after day.
That distinction really hits home. Okay, so when we talk about this consistent undermining, how does it actually show up in our mental health? What does undermining your well-being look like, practically speaking, beyond just feeling bad? What do the sources say about the measurable impacts?
Well, the research on this is incredibly clear. And honestly, it's a bit alarming. Studies consistently show a profound impact on mental health. Individuals caught in these emotionally detrimental relationships, they experienced a striking 50% increase in symptoms of anxiety and depression.
50%, that's huge.
It's massive. And that's not just a number, right? That's the measurable cost of living in this state of perpetual emotional vigilance, where your nervous system's constantly firing like danger, danger.
Which explains why you feel so drained all the time.
Exactly, like your brain is just running on fumes even when you feel like you haven't done anything all day. This constant low-level threat, it fundamentally changes your brain chemistry.
How so?
It essentially robs you of the capacity for joy, for deep focus, for genuine relaxation. You might find yourself constantly questioning your own perceptions.
Yeah, second-guessing everything.
Feeling like you're walking on eggshells with every single interaction. Or navigating conversations with extreme caution, like pre-analyzing every word to try and avoid conflict.
That sounds exhausting just describing it.
It is exhausting. This continuous state of hypervigilance, this emotional tightrope walking, it's incredibly draining. It depletes your mental resources, leaving you with less and less capacity for joy or focus or even just basic daily tasks.
So the uncertainty and insecurity become this heavy, suffocating cloak you wear every day.
That's a really good way to put it. Yes.
Okay, so beyond that immediate exhausting impact, what about the long term? Are there consequences of being exposed to this kind of consistent emotional drain over time? Does it affect more than just our day-to-day mood?
Oh, absolutely. The effects are far-reaching, and they can be devastating. Prolonged exposure to this kind of chronic stress, it can have severe physical consequences.
Like what?
It leads to an increased risk of chronic physical illnesses.
Yeah.
Because your body's stress response is just constantly activated.
Like being stuck in fight or flight mode.
Precisely. All the time. And even more startling, our sources show it triples the likelihood of developing severe psychiatric conditions. Things like post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, which we usually associate with major trauma.
Wow. So these relationships can actually be traumatic.
They absolutely can be. The emotional strain, the exhaustion, it can lead to this significant, pervasive lack of motivation. It impacts your personal life, your professional life.
Makes sense. You just wouldn't have the energy.
Exactly. You might find yourself unable to pursue goals or engage in hobbies you used to love, or even complete basic chores. Your reservoir of mental and emotional energy is just dry.
That sounds incredibly bleak.
And in severe cases, this prolonged toxicity can contribute to or significantly worsen clinical depression.
Meaning
Profound feelings of detachment, this deep, pervasive sadness that just lingers relentlessly. And tragically, it can even lead to self-harm ideation.
that's incredibly serious.
It is. It's a serious, systemic erosion of your entire mental and emotional landscape. It makes it difficult to engage with daily life, pursue goals, find any joy or meaning. This is just about feeling a bit down. It's a deep, pervasive impact on your whole system, mental and physical. It essentially reprograms your baseline for well-being downwards.
Okay, that's a really powerful and, yeah, frankly, unsettling picture of the damage these dynamics can inflict. So, given these severe impacts, how can we tell? How can we know if we're truly dealing with someone toxic? What are the key indicators, the red flags we should be looking out for? Especially since, as you said, some behaviors can be subtle or disguised at first.
Right, the subtlety is key. But the sources do outline a clear set of common signs. And when you observe these consistently, that should raise a significant alarm.
Okay, like what?
Well, first, there's pervasive negativity, where almost every conversation, every situation is viewed through this pessimistic, critical, even cynical lens.
Yeah.
It just drains the energy from any positive interaction.
The constant downer.
Exactly. Then there's manipulative behavior, which we'll definitely dig into more deeply, but it's a core characteristic.
Okay.
And coupled with this is a notable lack of accountability. They rarely, if ever, take responsibility for their actions, their words, or the problems they cause.
It's always someone else's fault.
Always. You might also see constant criticism, just this pervasive judgment directed at you, your choices, maybe other people.
The nitpicking.
Yes. Jealousy often surfaces too. A deep-seated resentment of your successes or your other relationships or just your general happiness.
That sounds really corrosive.
It is. And a big one is extreme self-centeredness, where their needs, their desires, their perspectives always, always take precedence, often at your direct expense. It's this overwhelming, almost pathological focus on themselves.
Wow. Okay, so if someone is, say, unreliable, consistently playing the victim, or just generally dishonest in how they interact, these are also major red flags that should definitely make us pause and evaluate, right? These feel like fundamental breaches of trust.
Precisely. Add to that list emotional volatility, where their moods can swing wildly, unpredictably. It leaves you constantly on edge, just anticipating the next explosion or meltdown.
Walking on eggshells again.
Constantly. And particularly insidious tactic is isolation, where they deliberately try to separate you from your healthy support system.
Your friends, your family.
Yes. Your other nourishing relationships.
Yeah.
It makes you more dependent on them and more vulnerable to their control.
That's scary.
It is. So recognizing these behaviors isn't just the first step. It's a crucial, foundational step.
Yeah.
It's about being able to name what you're experiencing, to give language to that, that undefinable sense of discomfort.
And trusting that inner alarm bell when it rings.
Absolutely. Trust the alarm bell.
Okay, knowing those general red flags is really powerful. But here's where it gets, I think, truly complex. Sometimes what feels like just toxic behavior is actually a meticulously crafted game of manipulation.
Ah, yes. Manipulation.
And that's often far harder to pinpoint, isn't it? Because it's designed to be subtle. It's designed to undermine your perception of reality.
Yeah.
What does manipulation actually look like, especially in its covert forms? And why is it so hard to put our finger on it, even when we feel it happening?
You hit the nail on the head. The challenge with manipulation is often that you don't realize you're being manipulated until you're already kind of caught in their web.
Right.
Manipulative tactics are specifically designed to control you subtly, to make you doubt your own instincts, question your memories, or feel responsible for their emotions and their problems.
So what kind of tactics are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about direct guilt tripping, for one, where they explicitly or implicitly make you feel bad for their problems or for not giving them what they want.
If you really cared, you would, that kind of thing.
Exactly that kind of thing. Then there's gaslighting, which is a particularly insidious form of psychological manipulation.
I've heard that term a lot. What exactly is it?
It's where they make you doubt your own reality, your memory, your sanity. They twist events to make you question your own perceptions of what happened.
Wow.
They might consistently play the victim, too, positioning themselves as perpetually wrong to gain sympathy and, crucially, avoid taking any responsibility for their own actions.
The poor me routine.
Or they might use excessive flattery, showering you with compliments or attention to disarm you and get what they want. It feels good, but it often has an ulterior motive.
Like buttering you up.
Exactly. Buttering you up, making you feel special, only to exploit that goodwill later on.
Okay, this is fascinating and actually quite illuminating. Our sources mention this mega list of manipulative tactics, which really breaks these behaviors down into distinct categories. It's like a playbook for subtle undermining. Can you walk us through some of those key categories? I think identifying these specific tactics in action could be incredibly empowering for people listening.
Absolutely. This mega list is invaluable because it really shines a light on the various disguises manipulation can wear. It helps you recognize them in real time. Okay, so first we have emotional blackmail.
Emotional blackmail. Okay.
This often operates on those powerful emotional levers of FOG, fear, obligation, and guilt.
FOG. Fear, obligation, guilt.
Right. Now, this isn't always overt bullying, though it certainly can include that. Brandishing intense anger, direct threats, belittling put-downs.
So obvious stuff.
Yeah. But it also includes more covert intimidation, where threats are implied rather than stated, just leaving you perpetually on edge. Shaming tactics are really common, too, designed to make you feel inadequate or embarrassed. The silent treatment, a classic form of stonewalling, is designed to punish you by withholding communication and attention.
Giving you the cold shoulder, basically.
Exactly. Another common one is triangulation, where they pull other people into a conflict to sort of divide and conquer. They create alliances against you, isolating you further.
Yeah.
And a particularly insidious form is manipulative obligation. I did X for you, now you owe me Y.
Making score.
Constantly. It creates this unspoken tally of favors, none of which were really favors in the first place. They were investments in their control over you. It makes you feel perpetually indebted, like you're working off a debt you never agreed to.
That sounds exhausting. Okay, so that's emotional blackmail, FOG. What's next?
Next up is gaslighting. This is entirely about distorting or denying your reality.
The one we talked about briefly.
Yes. And it's insidious, precisely because it targets your perception and your trust in yourself. It involves outright denial of things they said or did, even when you have clear memory or maybe even evidence.
I never said that. That didn't happen.
Exactly. They'll rationalize their wrong behavior, making absurd excuses or blaming circumstances. They'll minimize your feelings, telling you you're too sensitive or overreacting or just plain crazy.
Dismissing your experience entirely.
Completely. Outright lying is, of course, a core component. They might engage in smear campaigns, spreading false or twisted information about you to other people.
Turning others against you.
Or scapegoating, externalizing all the blame onto you for everything that goes wrong. A projection is common, too, accusing you of the very behaviors they exhibit themselves.
Wow, the hypocrisy.
Right. Manipulators might also deliberately exaggerate or overgeneralize to dismiss your points, or they'll evade subjects they don't want to discuss, often diverting with what are called word salads.
Word salads, what's that?
It's just these circular, nonsensical arguments that go nowhere. They leave you confused, frustrated, and totally exhausted because you can't pin anything down.
It sounds like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall.
Pretty much. They might even feign ignorance or innocence, play dumb, to avoid responsibility for their actions. It's like trying to have a coherent conversation with someone who constantly moves the goalposts or pretends they don't understand basic logic or truth.
Okay, gaslighting sounds truly awful. What's the third category?
Finally, we have love bombing. Now, this one might initially seem positive, but it's a clear manipulative tactic.
Love bombing. Sounds intense.
It is. It involves this overwhelming, often false, display of attention and affection. But it's not genuine connection. It's a strategic move designed to hook you in fast.
So what does it look like?
It includes pretending to agree with you or conceding on a point just to disarm you and get you off their back, but with no real intention of changing. They might play the servant, pretending they're only trying to help or care for you, when their real goal is actually to take advantage or gain control.
Sneaky.
Very. Seduction and excessive flattery are common. Using sweet talk, saying whatever they think you want to hear to win you over, but without actually earning your trust. This can look like an overwhelming barrage of calls, texts, gifts, attention, especially very early in a relationship, way beyond what feels normal or healthy.
Too much too soon.
Definitely. Then there are false concessions, where they might seem contrite, making small admissions or apologizing, but without any sustained change in their actual behavior. The apology is empty.
Right. Actions speak louder than words.
Always. Future faking is another big one here.
Future faking.
Making elaborate, often grandiose, false promises about a shared future trips, marriage, moving in together, all to get what they want from you now, but with absolutely no intention of ever fulfilling those promises.
Selling you a dream they won't deliver.
Precisely. And even manipulative kindness falls into this, like buying gifts or doing favors strategically, specifically to avoid accountability for their bad actions or to make you feel obligated later.
The "I bought you this so you can't be mad at me" tactic.
Exactly. It's this seductive cycle of grand gestures followed by continued hurtful behavior. It leaves you perpetually confused, always chasing that initial high of the love bombing phase.
Wow. It's clear that these behaviors, especially the manipulative ones, can be incredibly subtle. They really leave you feeling like that deer in headlights when you're exposed to them.
They do. They rely on your confusion, your desire for connection, maybe your good nature.
So that pervasive feeling that something is just off or fake, that's paramount, isn't it? Trusting your gut when you experience these tactics seems absolutely crucial.
It is, because the manipulator thrives in the dark, in that ambiguity. Shining a light on what they're actually doing makes them profoundly uncomfortable.
So listen to your gut.
Absolutely. Your intuition is your first line of defense. It's like a powerful built-in alarm system. If something consistently feels off or fake or just doesn't add up, it probably is manipulation.
Don't ignore that feeling.
Don't. The moment you feel that internal alarm bell, that persistent sense of unease or confusion or doubt about your own perceptions, pay serious attention to it. These manipulators operate best when you're doubting yourself, when you're questioning your own sanity, your memories, your feelings. So if you find yourself constantly second-guessing your own reality in an interaction with someone, that's a significant flashing sign that you might be dealing with someone using these covert, insidious tactics.
So empower yourself to validate your own experience, your own truth.
Yes, even when someone else is desperately trying to invalidate it, don't let them convince you that your gut feeling is wrong. It's often the most reliable guide you have in these situations.
Okay, this brings us to a really core and I think incredibly empowering strategy for reclaiming your peace, and that's setting boundaries.
Yes, boundaries are fundamental.
Now, I think many of us, myself included sometimes, might initially think boundaries are about controlling other people, getting them to change their behavior or imposing rules on someone else. But our sources offer a profoundly different perspective, a really liberating one, I think. It totally reframes the conversation.
This raises an incredibly important point, and it's probably one of the biggest misconceptions about boundaries.
Okay.
Boundaries are fundamentally about clarifying and controlling your own behavior,
Yeah.
your own responses, protecting your own space.
Not about controlling them, about controlling me.
Exactly. A boundary is essentially a rule for yourself that says, if someone does X, then I will do Y.
Okay, can you give an example?
Sure. Like, if my coworker yells at me during a meeting, I will calmly state that I'm leaving the conversation and walk away. Or maybe at home, if you continue leaving your dirty clothes on the floor after I've asked you not to, I will not wash them.
Ah, okay. So you're defining your response, your action, your limit. You're not demanding their change.
Precisely. You're taking responsibility for how you will react or what you will do when faced with certain behaviors. You're not placing the burden of change onto the other person. It keeps the focus, the control internal with you.
So, if I'm getting this right, it's not about trying to force them to be different, which, let's be honest, we often have zero control over anyway.
Exactly. Zero control sometimes.
It's entirely about you, your actions, and protecting your own well-being. Wow. That truly shifts the power dynamic entirely, doesn't it? Back into your hands.
It does. And this distinction is absolutely critical for your own sanity and for the boundary to actually be effective. Because while setting a boundary can certainly communicate something important to the other person,
Right, they might get the message.
they might. And it could even shape their behavior if, and this is a big if they are motivated to change. But it's really unwise and often just sets you up for disappointment to expect that outcome.
Because expecting them to change just hands your power back over to them.
Exactly. It leads to frustration, resentment. The only thing you have direct, unequivocal control over is your own actions and reactions,
Okay.
which leads to a critical rule about boundaries. Never set a boundary you're not willing to enforce.
Ooh, that's a big one. Never set one you won't enforce.
Yes, because if you say, if you do X, I will do Y, but then when they test you, and they likely will test you if you don't follow through,
You've basically taught them your boundary doesn't matter.
precisely. You've inadvertently taught them your boundaries aren't serious, that your words are empty, and they probably won't respect them in the future. It undermines your own credibility. So it's really about self-integrity and unwavering consistency. That's what builds internal strength and makes boundaries effective.
Okay, we've talked about the crucial step of setting boundaries, defining them. But here's where it gets really interesting, I think, and often the most challenging part.
Mm-hmm.
Enforcing them. That's often the toughest part, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it can come with this just tidal wave of guilt. It's one thing to say, this is my boundary. It's another thing entirely to hold firm when that toxic person pushes back.
You're absolutely right. Enforcement is where the rubber meets the road, and it's where so many people stumble. Understandably so.
Yeah.
Setting a boundary, like maybe telling a family member you won't participate in a certain activity or you won't discuss a difficult topic they always bring up, that might feel uncomfortable just saying it.
Sure.
But the harder part is continuing to say no or hold that line when they guiltily push back, when they guilt trip you or try to manipulate you or maybe even try to punish you for it.
How might they punish you?
Oh, with negative reactions like dismissal. Oh, you're being ridiculous. Or invalidation, that's not a big deal. Gaslighting, like we talked about, you're remembering it wrong. Or the dreaded silent treatment.
Ugh. Silent treatment.
It's a powerful tool. And guilt is such a common and incredibly powerful barrier to enforcement.
Why do we feel so guilty?
Well, you might feel it because boundaries are just a new concept for you, or maybe for the people around you, particularly if you grew up in an environment where boundaries weren't modeled or respected.
If it wasn't the norm.
Exactly. You might anticipate a negative reaction, and you want to avoid conflict, or you're simply not used to putting your needs first. Maybe you've always prioritized others' comfort over your own well-being.
The people pleaser tendency.
Very much so. And this feeling of guilt can be really intense, almost like an internal warning system trying to pull you back to those old, familiar, even if they're unhealthy, patterns. It can feel like you're doing something wrong, like you're being selfish or mean. It can mimic a moral failing.
That's such a relatable point about the guilt. It really does feel like an internal battle sometimes. So, okay, what does this all mean for actually dealing with that powerful feeling of guilt? The guilt that inevitably pops up when we start to enforce these boundaries. How do we navigate that internal conflict so it doesn't just derail our progress?
The key here, and this is really a practice in mindfulness, is to learn to sit with it.
Sit with the guilt.
Yes. To acknowledge it, to feel it, but without judgment. And crucially, without letting it immediately dictate your actions.
So, feeling guilty doesn't automatically mean the boundary is wrong.
Not at all.
Mm.
It just means you're experiencing a difficult, uncomfortable emotion, probably because you're doing something new or challenging. For example, let's say you tell your mom you can't help her rearrange furniture this weekend because you genuinely need to rest.
Okay.
You might feel guilty because you care about her, you want to be helpful. Maybe she lays on the guilt a bit.
Sure, but I was really counting on you.
Right. So you acknowledge that feeling with self-compassion. You can literally say to yourself, okay, I feel guilty right now. It makes sense I feel this way, given our history, but it doesn't invalidate my boundary or my real need for rest.
Okay. Acknowledge, allow, don't necessarily act on it.
Exactly. And most importantly, remember this. You are not responsible for another person's negative reaction to your boundary.
Say that again. That feels important.
You are not responsible for another person's negative reaction to your boundary. Whether that reaction is dismissal, gaslighting, the silent treatment, or a full-blown outburst, their reaction is their responsibility, not yours.
Okay, so what is our responsibility?
Your responsibility is to communicate assertively, not aggressively. That means being firm and clear about your limit and what your action will be if it's crossed, but without being hostile, blaming, or overly apologetic. You don't need to justify yourself endlessly.
Just state the boundary.
Simply state your boundary and what you will do, and remind yourself constantly, maybe even put sticky notes if you need to. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is a vital, necessary act of self-care and self-preservation.
And it ultimately improves relationships.
It really does. By clarifying expectations and protecting your fundamental well-being, it leads to healthier, more respectful interactions in the long run. Or it clarifies which relationships aren't healthy. And like any skill, practice makes progress.
Practice makes progress, not perfection.
Exactly. The more consistently you set and enforce boundaries, the less intense that guilt will feel over time. You'll start having more positive, empowering experiences with asserting your needs. You're essentially retraining your emotional response system. #D. Practical strategies for setting and enforcing boundaries.
That guidance on handling guilt is so incredibly important. I think for many people, that's the biggest barrier. Okay, so now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actionable steps. Our sources, especially Charlie Health, give us some concrete foundational steps for setting boundaries, particularly with toxic people. These seem like steps that could apply pretty broadly.
Indeed. These are the fundamentals. So the first foundational step is really about getting clarity. You need to start by clearly identifying the specific unacceptable behaviors you're encountering.
Like just they're annoying.
No, be specific. What exactly are they doing? Shouting, interrupting constantly, making passive-aggressive comments, and then determine the precise limits you need to set for yourself based on those behaviors. This clarity is crucial because vague boundaries are just too easily crossed.
So an example.
Instead of thinking, I don't like it when you're mean, you refine it to something like, I will not participate in conversations where there is shouting or name-calling.
Much clearer. Okay, so identify the behavior, determine your limit. What's next?
Once you're crystal clear on your boundary, the next step is to communicate it, directly and assertively. Make sure your message is straightforward, firm, unequivocal. Avoid ambiguity, avoid hinting, definitely avoid passive-aggressive approaches.
Just say it plainly.
Yes. And then comes the consistency part we talked about. It's crucial to be consistently consistent in enforcing these boundaries because toxic people, especially, are often masters at testing your resolve.
They'll push to see if you really mean it.
Absolutely. They'll push to see if you'll bend, if there's a loophole they can exploit. They've probably learned from past experience that pushing usually gets them what they want. So consistency breaks that pattern.
And how do we manage our own reactions when they do inevitably test those boundaries or maybe try to provoke us? It can be so tempting, almost instinctual, to get drawn into an emotional battle, right? To start justifying ourselves.
Oh, it's incredibly tempting.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely vital to try and stay calm and composed. Actively avoid those emotional responses that could just be used against you.
Don't take the bait.
Exactly. Toxic individuals often thrive on drama. They feed off your upset, your emotional reactions. It's like fuel for their problematic behavior. So Simple, straightforward statement of your boundary is often sufficient.
No need for a long explanation.
No, there's really no need to extensively explain or justify or over-explain your boundaries. The more you explain honestly, the more opportunities you give them to argue, deflect, manipulate, or try to poke holes in your reasoning.
Just state the boundary and what your action will be.
Precisely. Keep it simple. And throughout this entire process, you have to prioritize your well-being above everything else.
Put your oxygen mask on first.
Yes. And never, ever hesitate to seek support. Talk to trusted friends, family, or especially consider talking to a mental health professional if needed. An outside perspective can be invaluable.
For validation, support, strategy.
All of the above. They can provide emotional support, validate your experience, which is huge, and offer practical advice on navigating these really complex dynamics. They might help you see patterns you're too close to identify yourself.
Okay, that's really helpful for the general approach. Now, dealing with someone who's maybe just generally toxic, perhaps unaware of their full impact, that's one thing. But what about someone who is actively manipulative? We talked about those hidden tactics. They make direct confrontation incredibly difficult sometimes. Got some more expert level tactics here, specifically for dealing with manipulative people drawn from sources like Lead Today and also insights from online communities. These seem to go beyond the basics.
Right. When you're faced with clear, manipulative, or even bullying behavior, you often do need to address it more directly, using strategies specifically designed to shine that spotlight on their covert actions and disarm their preferred methods.
Okay, what are some of these advanced tactics?
All right, number one, speak the truth and call out the offending behaviors directly.
Okay.
But here's the key. Don't get caught up in name-calling, "You're a narcissist," or vague accusations, "You're always mean," because they can easily deflect those. Instead, focus on specific, observable actions.
Like what?
For example, instead of "you're so manipulative," you might say, "You consistently lie, you bully, and you use guilt trips to manipulate situations." Right. Or, when you made that comment just now, it came across as inconsiderate and dismissive, not as a joke.
So you're pinpointing concrete behaviors.
Exactly. Things that can often be backed up with specific examples. This makes it significantly harder for them to deflect or deny. It's about observable actions, not your interpretation of their character, which they will absolutely argue with.
Got it. Okay, what's number two?
Number two, expose manipulative tactics in the moment.
Call it outright when it happens.
Yes. Remember, manipulators thrive in the dark, in ambiguity, in unspoken coercion. Shining a direct light on what they're doing makes them profoundly uncomfortable. Like that deer in headlights analogy again.
So how do you do that without sounding overly confrontational or like you're diagnosing them?
You don't need psychology jargon. You can simply calmly say things like, "Hey, I notice you're changing the subject. Let's stick to the issue at hand." Or, "That sounds like you're trying to make me feel guilty and I don't respond to guilt trips. My decision stands."
Wow, that's direct.
It is.
Yeah.
But it immediately puts them on the defensive. It forces them to either explain themselves, back down, or maybe try another tactic.
Right.
And if they try another tactic,
Plot that out too.
continue to subtly, calmly call it out. This repeated calm exposure can really disarm them because you're refusing to play their game. You're naming the game itself.
Yeah.
And that robs them of their power.
Okay, speak truth to behavior, expose tactics in the moment. What's next?
Number three, use non-defensive statements. This aligns perfectly with that powerful deep technique we mentioned in past.
Deep, remind me.
Don't defend, don't engage, don't explain, don't personalize.
Okay. Don't defend, engage, explain, personalize.
Right. So when a toxic or manipulative person is trying to bait you into an argument or drag you into their drama or start one of those crazy making cycles, you use simple, neutral phrases that just refuse to engage with their bait.
Examples.
Things like, "Okay," or "Thanks for letting me know," or "You're entitled to your perspective," or maybe "That's your opinion," or even "It's unfortunate you feel that way," or simply "I view things differently."
Very neutral. Almost dismissive, but politely so.
Exactly. And you can repeat them if necessary, like a broken record. They're designed to diffuse their attempts to draw you into their drama by giving them absolutely no leverage, no emotional supply to feed on. You're not giving them anything to argue with.
Can you give us another quick real-time example? Maybe using don't defend or don't explain. Say they accuse you of something unfairly.
Okay. Let's say the manipulator says, "You never support me. You're completely selfish."
Okay, ouch. Instinct is to defend.
Right. So instead of defending,
Hmm.
No, I'm not selfish. Remember last month when I helped you with that's engaging the blame, defending.
Hmm.
Or instead of explaining, well, the reason I couldn't help this time is because I had this deadline and I was feeling sick. That's justifying, which just invites argument about your reasons.
Right. They'll pick apart your reasons.
Probably. So using a non-defensive statement, you might just say, you're entitled to see it that way. Or, okay, I hear that you feel unsupported. Or simply, I disagree with that assessment. You don't get drawn in. You don't justify. You don't offer more information for them to twist or attack. You simply state your position neutrally and offer no fuel for their fire.
That's brilliant. Simple, but feels like it would take practice. It's hard not to defend yourself in the moment.
It is incredibly hard at first.
Right.
But with practice, it really does become second nature. Okay, continuing our tactics. Number 4, set consequences for abusive or boundary-violating behaviors.
Consequences.
Okay.
You can't just protest or complain about their behavior. You have to impose meaningful consequences. This is absolutely crucial for actually teaching toxic people to respect your boundaries. Complaining alone rarely works.
So what kind of consequences?
It means either reducing or removing something positive they gain from the interaction with you, or increasing or adding something negative for them if they cross a line.
Can you give an example?
Sure. If they disrespect a boundary by yelling, the consequence might be calmly ending the conversation. You state beforehand, if you continue to raise your voice, I will hang up the phone, leave the room, and then, crucially, you do it the moment they yell again.
Follow through is key.
Absolutely. Or if they repeatedly violate your privacy, maybe reading your texts, the consequence might be limiting contact for a specific period. Because you continue to disregard my request for privacy, I won't be responding to your calls or texts for the next 24 hours.
That teaches them their actions have tangible, immediate repercussions. Exactly. And it shows them that you respect yourself enough to enforce your limits,
Yeah.
rather than just voicing them and hoping to listen.
Okay, consequences. What's the last tactic?
Number 5,
Silence.
silence.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes no response is truly the most powerful response. You don't have to engage every internet troll, every passive-aggressive comment, every toxic person who tries to insult you or draw you in.
Pick your battle.
Pick your battles wisely. Many people who engage in these behaviors are, frankly, deeply miserable themselves, and they might want you to be miserable too. Or they simply choose to intentionally misunderstand you for their own ends. Starve the toxic person of your attention and your emotional reactions. Those reactions are often the very fuel they crave.
Don't feed the trolls, basically.
Exactly. Understand that your time, your energy, your emotional well-being are incredibly valuable resources, and toxic people are often a massive distraction from your actual goals and your purpose in life. Protect that energy. The gray rock method seems like a fantastic example of that last point, right? Just making yourself as uninteresting as a gray rock so they lose interest because they're getting absolutely no reaction.
Yes, exactly. The gray rock method is a deliberate, tactical use of silence and non-engagement. By making yourself as uninteresting, as dull, as emotionally flat as a gray rock, you deprive them of the emotional supply they crave.
They want drama, tears, anger.
They want a reaction. Any reaction often works. And if you offer none, they often just get bored and move on to find it somewhere else. It's a really powerful self-preservation technique, especially in situations where you can't easily distance yourself completely.
Right, like with a coworker or certain family members.
Precisely. And building on that idea of exposing things, if they're being vague or unclear or making those thinly veiled insults or jokes, asking clarifying questions can be incredibly effective.
Like what?
Questions like, can you explain the joke you just made and why it is funny? Or, I don't quite understand what you're saying. Can you elaborate on that point?
Putting them on the spot.
Exactly. And this isn't necessarily to get a real explanation for yourself, because often they don't have a coherent or non-malicious one. Instead, it serves to expose their intentions, maybe to others who are present, or just to make them uncomfortable. It makes their manipulation visible and awkward for them in the moment, rather than letting it subtly undermine you. It neatly shifts the discomfort from you back onto them.
Okay, so once we start setting and enforcing these crucial boundaries, which really do feel foundational, what else can we do? What else can we do to support our mental health and build that deep resilience against future stress? Because it feels like this is an ongoing process, right? A continuous rebuilding, not just a one-time fix.
You're absolutely right. It's definitely a continuous process of nurturing your inner landscape.
Mm.
Self-care, especially in this context, isn't some kind of fluffy luxury. It's absolutely paramount to your recovery and your ongoing well-being.
It's essential, not optional.
Essential. It's about deliberately prioritizing activities that actively reduce stress, counteract the lingering effects of that toxic exposure, and boost your mood and your energy levels.
Like what kind of activities?
Well, things like regular physical exercise, engaging deeply in hobbies, you genuinely enjoy things that bring you pleasure or flow, and consistently practicing relaxation techniques to build up that internal reservoir of resilience.
So you have more capacity to handle things.
Exactly. Remember, you can't always control the external causes of your stress. You can't always control how a toxic person behaves, but you can absolutely control the way you react to it. And crucially, how you nourish and fortify your own well-being. It's about building up your internal resources so you're less affected by those external pressures and so you can bounce back more quickly when things do get tough.
What's truly fascinating here is how many of our sources really emphasize mindfulness. Mindfulness as a surprisingly powerful foundational tool in this whole self-care toolkit. It seems like it's so much more than just a buzzword. It's presented as a practical, accessible path to building mental strength.
Indeed. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, or MBSR, techniques. They've been rigorously studied and proven to significantly reduce stress and related conditions like anxiety and depression.
Wow.
And beyond just stress reduction, regular mindfulness practice can profoundly improve your attention span, enhance your memory, and even help manage chronic physical pain.
So what is mindfulness at its core?
At its core, mindfulness is about being fully aware in the present moment, intentionally, and without judgment.
Aware, intentional, non-judgmental.
Okay, and this can be as simple as mindful breathing. Just noticing your breath as it comes in and goes out. Observing its rhythm, its sensation, without trying to change it in any way.
Just observing.
Or doing a body scan meditation, where you systematically bring your awareness to different parts of your body, your toes, your legs, your stomach, your shoulders, just noticing and accepting whatever physical sensations are there, whether they're pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, without tensing up or resisting them.
So the goal isn't necessarily to clear your mind of all thoughts, because that feels impossible sometimes.
Right. That's a common misconception. The goal isn't an empty mind. It's more about observing thoughts and feelings as they arise, without getting totally caught up in their stories, without letting them just overwhelm you. It's about creating a little bit of distance, a little space between you and your internal experience, observing it, rather than being consumed by it.
I love the idea of using the RAIN approach for processing difficult feelings. That came up in the sources. Recognize, accept, investigate, non-identify. It sounds like a structured, but also incredibly gentle way to truly process emotions without letting them just sweep you away, especially when you're maybe still carrying that emotional residue from toxic interactions. It gives you a practical framework for something that often feels completely chaotic.
Exactly. RAIN is a beautiful, compassionate pathway to better emotional regulation and self-understanding. It's really practical.
Can you walk us through it quickly? RAIN.
Sure. First, R is for recognize. Simply acknowledge what's happening inside you. Name the feeling if you can. This is anger, or okay, guilt is here, or this feels like fear, without immediately reacting to it or judging it.
Just name it. Okay.
Second, A is for accept or allow. Allow the feeling to be there without resistance. Understanding that feelings, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant, are natural. They're transient parts of being human. They will ultimately pass. This isn't about liking the feeling, but just allowing it to be present without fighting it.
Stop struggling against it.
Right. Third, I is for investigate. Get curious about it gently. Where do you feel this emotion in your body? What are its physical qualities? Is it hot, cold, tight, spacious? What's its texture or energy? What stories or thoughts might be tangled up with this feeling? And importantly, are those stories actually true or helpful right now?
Gentle curiosity.
Gentle, non-judgmental curiosity. And finally, N is for non-identify. This means understanding that feelings are like weather patterns. They arise, they hang around for a bit, and then they pass. They don't define who you are. You're not your anger or your sadness or your guilt. These are experiences moving through you, like clouds moving through the sky. You are the sky, not the clouds.
I like that metaphor. You are the sky, not the clouds.
This whole RAIN practice builds profound emotional intelligence and stability. It allows you to observe your emotional landscape without being constantly swept away by its storms. It's a practice in conscious awareness that builds deep self-understanding and inner resilience. and it really helps you detach from those emotional hooks that toxic people often try to leave in you.
That sounds incredibly powerful. Okay, so beyond these specific mindfulness techniques like RAIN, what other factors contribute to building that deep resilience? To effectively managing overall stress, especially when you're navigating complex, draining relationships or maybe recovering from their impact. It feels like we need a whole toolkit, a comprehensive strategy.
Absolutely. It's holistic. There are several key areas that, when you address them together, significantly contribute to your resilience and overall stress management. They effectively create this buffer against future emotional drain.
Okay, lay them on us.
All right. First, aligning your core values with your actions. This is vital. When you consistently spend your time and energy doing what truly matters to you, what genuinely resonates with your deepest principles and sense of purpose, it can dramatically reduce stress and actually energize you.
Instead of feeling drained by things that don't matter to you.
Exactly. It prevents that feeling of being drained by external demands that don't align with your inner self, which is so common when you're constantly reacting to a toxic person's agenda.
Okay, values alignment. What else?
Problem-solving skills are also profoundly enhanced through mindfulness. It fosters mental flexibility. It helps you slow down that immediate reactive response, assess your options more clearly, and make educated, thoughtful decisions from a calmer, more objective place,
Right.
rather than just reacting impulsively out of stress or fear.
Makes sense. Clearer head, better decisions.
Then there's physical activity. We mentioned it briefly, but it's such a powerful, almost primal stress reliever. It increases endorphins, those natural mood boosters. It dramatically improves sleep quality, which stress often wrecks. It raises self-esteem. And crucially, it helps release that physical muscle tension that accumulates from walking on eggshells or just holding emotional stress in your body.
Like literally shaking off the stress.
Yes, even a brisk walk can literally help your system process and release the adrenaline and cortisol that toxic interactions flood you with. It's like hitting a physiological reset button. And moderate, consistent activity is key. You don't need to run a marathon to get profound benefits.
Good to know. Okay, what's next?
Deep breathing. Simple, but maybe the fastest way to gain immediate control over stress, anxiety, even panic, right in the moment it's happening.
How does that work so fast?
It directly activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and digest system. It helps calm your body's stress response almost immediately, bringing you back towards a state of equilibrium when you feel overwhelmed. A few slow, deep breaths can make a huge difference.
Okay, breathing. What else?
Planning pleasant activities into your regular routine. This is not just a nice to have. Our sources emphasize this is a crucial, active intervention.
So scheduling fun.
Scheduling things you find relaxing, enjoyable, or just plain fun. Research shows that deliberately doing this actively reduces distress and significantly increases happiness. And these don't have to be grand gestures. Even just a few minutes each day devoted to a simple pleasure, reading a chapter of a book, listening to a favorite song, savoring a cup of tea in silence can make a profound difference in replenishing your emotional reserves.
Building up the positive. Okay.
Eating wisely also directly helps manage physical stress. High stress often leads to poor food choices, right? Skipping meals, overeating, craving unhealthy fats and sugar,
Comfort food, yeah.
which then just adds another physical burden to your system. Choosing nutrient-rich, balanced foods removes a significant physical stressor and supports your body's ability to cope with the mental and emotional demands.
Makes sense. Fueling yourself properly.
Changing unhelpful thoughts. This is a core component of building resilience, often targeted in therapies like CBT. Mindfulness helps you become acutely aware of those habitual negative thought patterns, the inner critic, the catastrophizing. And once you're aware, you can begin to challenge them. Consciously replace them with thoughts that are more realistic, more compassionate, and more supportive of your goals and well-being. It's like actively pruning your mental garden.
Weeding out the negativity.
Exactly. Getting social support is absolutely fundamental too. Connecting with supportive people, trusted friends, family members who get it, maybe support groups, is crucial for effective stress management.
Don't isolate yourself.
No. Having people who understand, who validate your experiences, who offer a safe space to vent or just be, that can significantly lighten your burden and remind you that you're definitely not alone in this.
Validation is so important.
Immensely. Increasing self-compassion is another big one. This means being forgiving, understanding, and kind to yourself, especially during difficult times or when you feel you've made a mistake, maybe in setting a boundary.
Treating yourself like you'd treat a good friend.
That's a great way to think about it. Low self-compassion directly increases stress levels and makes feelings of inadequacy worse. Practicing self-compassion, on the other hand, directly lowers stress,
Yeah.
reduces stress hormones, and dramatically improves self-esteem, which, as we know, is often eroded by toxic relationships.
So be kind to yourself. Okay. Anything else?
Lastly, managing interpersonal stress through mindful communication and active listening. This can dramatically improve your interactions, even with difficult people you still have to interact with. By learning to communicate your needs more clearly and assertively, and by listening more effectively to understand, even if you don't agree, you can prevent a lot of unnecessary conflict and emotional drain. It makes your remaining interactions more manageable.
Wow, that's a really comprehensive list of resilience-building habits. It covers mind, body, relationships.
It really is a holistic approach. You need to support yourself on multiple levels.
Okay, but sometimes, despite our best efforts, right, despite incorporating all these self-care strategies, setting boundaries as best we can, the prolonged impact of toxic relationships can still feel overwhelming. It can leave us feeling stuck or deeply affected or just simply unable to cope on our own. What kind of professional help is available? And maybe most importantly, when is it time to recognize that we need to seek it out? When is it beyond self-help?
That's a really important question. Professional support can be incredibly effective, and honestly, it's often a necessary and courageous step for deep healing and sustained recovery. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength to reach out.
So what does that look like? What kind of help?
Well, therapists, for instance, counselors, psychologists, social workers, they offer personalized guidance and coping strategies tailored specifically to your situation. They can help you process past experiences, understand the roots of why you might be susceptible to these dynamics, and develop healthier relationship patterns moving forward.
Individual therapy. Okay.
Then there are structured support groups. These can be in person or online. They provide these invaluable, safe spaces where you can connect with other people who are facing similar challenges. There's a profound sense of community, shared wisdom, and mutual encouragement that comes from that, often under professional facilitation.
Knowing you're not alone.
Exactly. And for more severe mental health effects, psychiatric care, sometimes involving medication alongside therapy, using evidence-based therapeutic approaches can be absolutely transformative.
What kind of therapies are helpful here?
Things like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which really helps you identify and actively retrain those unhelpful thought patterns and behaviors we talked about. Dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT, is particularly good for managing intense, overwhelming emotions, learning to tolerate distress without making things worse, and improving interpersonal effectiveness, great skills for boundary setting. And sometimes, just supportive therapy, which provides a consistent, non-judgmental, safe space to process your experiences, gain validation, and feel truly heard, can be incredibly healing.
Okay, so lots of options, but how do you know when it's time? What are the signs that you should reach out?
The time to seek help is when you're feeling chronically drained, persistently anxious, or deeply depressed, despite your own efforts. When you're experiencing significant physical symptoms of stress, like chronic fatigue, digestive issues, headaches, or if your trusted friends and family members are expressing genuine concern about your well-being.
If others are noticing a change.
Yes. If you find yourself consistently unable to manage daily life, if you're feeling profound detachment from things you used to care about, or, and this is critical, if thoughts of self-harm arise, these are clear, urgent signs to reach out immediately. You absolutely do not have to navigate these incredibly challenging situations alone. There are professionals out there who are ready and willing to support you on your journey back to healing and peace. #33 outro.
Wow. Okay, so our deep dive today, it really reveals a powerful and I think ultimately liberating truth. Your peace. It's not just a desirable state, it is priceless.
Silly priceless.
It's not a luxury item. It's a non-negotiable fundamental foundation for your mental, your emotional, even your physical health. And setting boundaries. It isn't some defensive act designed to control other people.
No, it's proactive.
It's a radical, proactive act of self-preservation. It's a cornerstone of your emotional well-being. It's about intimately knowing what you will and won't tolerate in your life.
Knowing your limits.
Communicating that clearly, assertively through your words, and crucially, consistently enforcing it through your own actions and your own choices. This isn't really about changing anyone else at all, is it?
Not fundamentally.
It's about profoundly changing your own life,
Yeah.
your own reactions, and ultimately your own capacity for joy and calm.
And this journey, this whole process of setting boundaries, it's deeply personal. And And let's be honest, it can be incredibly challenging, especially when you're dealing with deeply ingrained patterns, maybe long-standing family relationships or those master manipulators we talked about.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Not at all. So our final thought for you to really mull over, to sit with, is this. If, after all your efforts, after trying every boundary, every strategy we discussed, if the only boundary that ultimately works to protect your peace is the big one, meaning significantly distancing yourself or maybe even leaving a relationship entirely, whether it's a friendship, a family dynamic you limit, or a partnership, are you truly prepared to prioritize your well-being, your peace, your sanity above all else, even if it means making what feels like an extreme choice for an extreme situation?
That's a tough question to sit with, prioritizing yourself maybe above the relationship itself.
It is tough, but remember this, and this is such a profound truth that emerges from this work. The right people, the healthy people in your life, they will intuitively respect your boundaries. Maybe not perfectly all the time, but they'll respect them because they genuinely value you and the relationship itself. They want you to be well. And those who consistently don't, those who resist, who test, who push back, who maybe even punish you for having healthy limits, in essence, they will simply filter themselves out of your life.
That's an interesting way to look at it. The boundaries act as a filter.
They absolutely do. They filter out those who aren't willing or able to respect you, leaving more space, more energy for genuine connection, for authentic relationships, and ultimately for a profound and lasting sense of peace in your own life.